legislative resolution. And if I may, I'm going to read part of it, and then Roy and Andrew are going to read the other part. But whereas the Senate and General Assembly of the state of New Jersey are pleased to salute and commend Nick Sutter, a highly esteemed resident of Lawrenceville, Mercer County, upon his conclusion of an outstanding tenure as chief of the Princeton Police Department. And whereas Nick culminates a remarkable 25-year career that saw a dramatic increase in responsibility during the COVID-19 pandemic, as he was made Director of Emergency Management, additional role he upheld in stride that has contributed immensely to the safety of Princeton and its citizens during this unprecedented chapter of our history. And whereas he previously shared his considerable insight as a captain in Princeton Borough before the 2013 consolidation, and as an acting chief of police before he was appointed as chief of police in March of 2014. A superb accomplishment on his part, as it was the first and thus far only complete consolidation of two police departments in the state. And his long list of aptly bestowed promotions include his service as patrol sergeant, detective sergeant, patrol lieutenant, and detective lieutenant. Roy, you pick up. Or Andrew.
Whereas among his other achievements, Nicholas Sutter is especially appreciated for his initiating cost-saving measures after the consolidation that produced more than $2 million in annual savings, creating an operational cooperative agreement between the Princeton Police Department and Princeton University, and establishing the first K-9 program in the department. And whereas Nicholas Sutter is a distinguished graduate of Columbia Southern University, Kean University, and has proved himself to be a man devoted to continually improving upon his expertise and knowledge in the field of law enforcement, a virtual man-made manifest through his completion of Organizational Leadership Professional Certification Program at the University of Virginia, the Forensics, Counterterrorism, and the Leadership Professional Certification Program at the FBI National Academy, and the Police Training Commission Certification Program at the Somerset County Police Academy. And Andrew, please.
Is Andrew on?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, I was muted.
It's okay. That's okay. Go ahead.
How much do you want me to read? Just one? Whereas the people of New Jersey...
Finish it up.
Finish it up.
Yep. Whereas the people of New Jersey are generally indebted to industrious and concerned individuals such as Nick Sutter, whose time and energies are committed to improving the effectiveness of their communities and their neighbors' quality of life, and where it is both right and proper for this legislature to pause in its deliberations to acknowledge Nick Sutter and to praise his strong character and exceptional determination. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and the General Assembly of the State of New Jersey that this legislature hereby congratulates Nick Sutter upon the end of his watch, pays tribute to his meritorious record of excellence within all the spheres of his life and work, and extends sincere best wishes for a long and fulfilling retirement spent with his loved ones. And be it further resolved that a duly authenticated copy of this resolution, signed by the Senate President and the Assembly Speaker, and attested by the Senate Secretary and the Assembly Clerk, be transmitted to Chief Nick Sutter. Chief, congratulations.
Josh, thank you so very much. Thank you. I'm so honored. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you so very, very much. That was so special. Thank you.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I want to thank our delegation for coming here tonight. And this is going to be a little bit of a "this is your life" because we also have a couple former council people who wanted to also pay their tribute. Mark, can you let in Heather Howard?
Hi, Mayor. Can you?
I can hear you. I don't know if we can see you, but we can hear you.
Do I have to do something? I'm sorry to. You see my cheesy bit. Boy, how council meetings have changed.
I know. We've gone very high tech.
I'm glad I retired, got out before the technology got so fancy. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and talk because I don't want to take more of your time, and I'm sorry that you can't see me, Chief.
You see your Bitmoji, which is pretty amazing.
Thank you, Mayor, for inviting, and I'm very proud to follow our distinguished legislative delegation, and I share their perspective, and I think I'm going to be joined by others. This is a really, as Mayor, as you said, a bittersweet moment. I want to congratulate Nick for his wonderful career of service to Princeton, but to be honest, this is also really sad for Princeton, and sad for me. I was an original member of the Public Safety Committee in the Consolidated Princeton, along with Mayor Lempert and Councilman Lance Liverman, and I was honored to be the first police commissioner. So I got to work closely with Chief Sutter, and I must say that I was continually inspired by his amazing leadership, and especially taken by his call for police to be guardians, not warriors. He embraced the reforms of President Obama's task force on 21st century policing. And under his leadership, the department became not only a state, but really a national model of policing. His steady hand and inspiring leadership style brought together two different police departments and cultures and created a unified culture that was marked by selfless professionalism and dedicated to our community. And they accomplished so much. I think for the record, it's important to note several of these accomplishments. First, accreditation. For a force our size, it was really testament to his hard work and his team to raise the already high standards that they expected of themselves. Under Chief Sutter's leadership, he enacted really cutting edge standards for transparency with his police statistics, and I think to help us on council and the community understand better what was all of the statistics and how the police were interacting with the community. He, of course, led the return of the Safe Neighborhood Unit, which brought community policing back to Princeton and highlighted the wonderful skills and talents of so many officers in that unit. He worked something very few police chiefs would have done. He worked closely with the ACLU of New Jersey on a police directive on immigration that clarified the role of local law enforcement, and that went a long way towards building bridges to all members of the community and actually presaged the New Jersey State Attorney General's directive. So another example of where he was ahead of the curve. He and his department worked closely with our Human Services Department on addressing wage theft and making sure that our officers understood the threat of wage theft and how to work with community members who might have otherwise been fearful of the police department. And finally, really the prudent fiscal management of the department, which doesn't get recognized enough. He helped us achieve significant savings from consolidation. And every time there was a retirement, he thought, well, how do we, even as we miss this officer who's retiring, how do we use this opportunity to strengthen the department? And he studied the chain of command and thought about how we could best deploy our officers, hire younger officers, maintain an appropriate oversight structure, but eliminate unnecessary management positions. And that, of course, includes also our work on dispatch and conserving taxpayer dollars. So really smart and prudent fiscal management at the department. And just in closing, I want to say at a time when nationally we've seen the proliferation of corrosive practices and the erosion of trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve, I am so proud of the police department's groundbreaking work. The future of the department is bright because of Chief Sutter's work to create this culture of service and respect. And especially his legacy lives on in the new generation of officers whose hiring he spearheaded, and they all are so special and represent the inspiration that I know Chief Sutter inspires in all of his force. Chief, we have been so fortunate to have you as our leader, and I hope you know how dearly you will be missed, but also the tremendous legacy that will live on because of your tremendous work. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity.
Thanks, Heather. We miss you too.
Yes.
And then former Councilman Liverman is here too and wanted to say a few words. I think you're on, Lance, if you
Am I?
are.
Can you hear me?
So, yeah.
Can you see me?
No, I don't know why we can't see you.
You can't see me.
Yeah.
No.
I'm waving. I'm waving.
Audio,
to
no
you.
video.
I'm waving. So, well, let me say let me start off by saying a few things. First of all, Kip, you look great. You look strong. Roy, I love that beard. I mean, it makes you look rewarding. And Andrew, that motorcycle jacket, I mean, it's like royalty for you. So you guys are unbelievable. And Heather, what a beautiful, beautiful picture that you put up there of yourself. You look like about 30 years younger. You look very good. Great, great. I'm here to say a few things in regard to Nick. And I want to say hi, Chief, Mayor, and Council. I felt it not robbery of my time on vacation to say a few words about Chief Nick Sutter. I will be brief, but I must say, when the going gets rough, when the hills are hard to climb, Chief Sutter has always found a way to deal with the situation. When the council needed extra data within the police reports, the chief was there. When the community needed extra police protection from unrest, the chief was there. When we needed to reform and adopt a progressive immigration policy, the chief was there. When public safety, under the leadership of Heather Howard and Mayor Lampert, asked for more diverse police department, the chief didn't say no, the chief said, yes, we will. On a personal note, when I had a traffic accident and received a DUI and was shamed by so many, the chief was there for me and my family. It's easy to pretend like you care. There are many unpaid actors walking around the streets of Princeton, but when you let your heart lead you, when you sit down and listen to both sides, when you don't jump to accuse first, this is true wisdom. And I'm here today to say that Chief Sutter has always exhibited wisdom, kindness, fairness, and loyalty to the Princeton Police Department and the residents of Princeton, New Jersey. I say, Chief, you deserve to rest a little bit. You deserve some real family time. You deserve to sleep in. You deserve to enjoy the next chapter of your life. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being an example, a true example of what a fine police chief and officer should look like. Thank you so much, Chief. Enjoy.
Thank you, Lance. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Thanks, Lance. I wanted to see if there are any council people who wanted to say anything before I read the proclamation. Yeah, Ms. Fraga?
Yes, I can't possibly follow those words from the proclamation from Heather and Lance, such beautiful words, but every single word, I wish I just say ditto. I want to echo that. Also, in addition to that, Chief, before even joining council, when I first had the opportunity to meet you was I was on a subcommittee, immigration subcommittee of human services. And I believe it was about 8 years ago that we had an opportunity to meet with you to discuss what became the police directive that was issued. And let me tell you that from day one, I was very impressed by you, very impressed by what I felt was a really heartfelt empathy for others. And it really shows in your work and how responsive you are to anytime any of us reach out to you or the community or anything that's happening in the community. You really have gone with your leadership, really gone a long way to building trust in our community. And I'm not gonna get teary-eyed, but you really leave behind a great legacy that I hope others will follow by example. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Leticia. Thank you.
Ms. Niedergang.
Thanks. I wasn't planning on saying anything because I echo what everyone else is saying, but I did want to just speak to one element that has really particularly impressed me over the last 6 months, which is Chief Sutter's humility. He combines an incredible intellect, incredible talent, with the ability to understand that he doesn't have all the answers. And that's so rare. And I have just really, although we haven't worked that closely together over the last year and a half, that's something that, especially in the last, few months with Black Lives Matter coming to the fore again and dealing with demonstrations and other types of questions about how the police operate, you're the right man for the right time. I mean, you were the right man for other times too, but just the perfect voice for right now. So I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart that I can say to the people of Princeton, we have a fabulous leader who's not afraid to say, I can learn from you, we can do better. It's such a testament to your leadership. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mia beat me.
Okay, Ms. Sachs.
Well, Chief Sutter, I want to say the fact that you were responsible for the first K-9 program in Princeton really says it all for me. And I also obviously want to echo my colleagues, and although Councilwoman Lambros and I are new to council, we have had the opportunity to work closely with you, and so we really can appreciate the legacy that you leave behind, and we feel so fortunate that we're inheriting the department that you crafted with all the skill and attention and nurturing that everyone has talked about. And I would feel great apprehension and despair about your leaving, except that I know that you've trained your successor, and that's a tremendous source of comfort. And I also want to say that, I think one of the reasons why in this time when there's a lot of scrutiny on police and on policing in general, that you've really been a shining light on what a police department can be and what a police officer can be, is because you're a human first and foremost and a police officer second, and your humanity informs your policing and the department that you've left behind. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so very much.
And also, you promised us that we could call you at any time of day or night in perpetuity.
Don't do it.
I'm let you know that we're going to hold you to that.
I work with these people, Chief. Don't do it.
Mr. Williamson.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, it may be just echoing what some of my colleagues, past and present, have already said. But in these days and times when policing is under more increased scrutiny and a lot of questions are being asked that probably should have been asked for maybe a couple hundred years, it's great to know that we have a chief that didn't have to wait for protests to create a very forward-looking progressive department. So Chief, for that, I'm sure Princeton will remember you for a very long time to come for the department that you created. The department you created, and that would be the first consolidated department. And just for generations to come, the work you've done now will continue to carry some good value. Thank you, Chief, and good luck with your retirement.
Thank you so much.
Ms. Pearl-Lambros.
It's hard to add anything other than just my heartfelt thanks for everything that you've done for the department. I'm sorry that it's going to have been such a short period of time working with you, but it's been a real honor to work with you and to learn from you and to know what a great department that we have. And I'm really so proud of that. And I'm just very happy for you. Sad for us, but I know that we're in good hands and really appreciate everything you've done. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
And Council President Cohen.
So first of all, Chief, I want to reassure you that Mia already spends 25 hours a day on the phone, so she's not going to have time to call you a lot. And the other thing I wanted to say was, I had a contested primary this year, And one of the toughest questions that was asked in the candidates forum was, what would you do to try and improve the Princeton police force? And all I could say was, I can't imagine what I could do to try and improve the police force. And it kind of got me in trouble, I think, because that was a moment when everybody wanted to be talking about how to improve policing in the country and in the state and in our town. But I still hold to my answer. I think you do just about everything perfectly. So
Thank you so much.
we'll miss you.
Likewise.
Mr. DeShield, did you have your hand up too?
Yes, I did want to say, I'm sorry, I can't help myself, but I do need to say something to the chief. It's been a pleasure working with the chief, and he'll still be here a little bit longer. As I told mayor and council, I've got over 25 years of experience throughout the state of New Jersey. He is by far the best chief of police I've ever worked with or is in the state of New Jersey. And the one thing I say, his leadership has been so outstanding, and his legacy will stay here, because I look at each one of those officers in that department. He has literally changed the culture of that department. It's one thing that most departments are trying to do. He has accomplished that. And we will have that for the future, all that he's done in that department. And I see it every day in all the officers there in the department. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thanks. And we have a proclamation from Mayor and Council. I'm going to read the last part of it. Whereas Chief Nicholas Sutter fostered a spirit of collaboration within the department, across the municipal government, and with multiple community partners, the Princeton Police Department has become a model for other law enforcement agencies. As a transformative leader, he leaves behind a department that is more diverse, more community-oriented, more progressive, and better equipped to face today's challenges and those of the future. And now, therefore, I, Liz Lempert, Mayor of Princeton, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, on behalf of the Princeton Council, do hereby recognize Chief Nicholas Sutter for his dedicated service to our community and express our gratitude for his wise leadership, integrity, and for his compassionate spirit. And furthermore, do hereby call upon the citizens to hail Chief Sutter's outstanding service to the Princeton community with boisterous cheering and sustained applause, and proclaim September 14th, 2020 in the municipality of Princeton as Chief Nicholas Sutter Day. Yay!
Oh,
Unmute.
Thank you, Mayor. Oh my gosh. And thank you so very much. I knew this one was going to be really, really tough, but you made it even tougher than I thought it was going to be. This is I'm speechless. I did write down a few words I just wanted to share with you, because I knew inevitably in this time, seeing all of you, I was gonna become choked up as I am and lose my train of thought. So it's good that I put these words down. Just once again, I'm just so honored and grateful for all this recognition. I feel undeserving of it. I feel like I feel these exact things about all of you and about my time here in Princeton. And this has become as I get closer, it's becoming very difficult for me to say goodbye. And, I don't want to think of it as a goodbye, but, I'll always be, Princeton will always be here in my heart, and I'll be here for Princeton, but not seeing all of you and working with you is going to be very tough. While I served in the profession for these 25 plus years, this has been more than 25 years for me. It's been a lifelong journey. This has been a dream from my childhood. My earliest memories were always of wanting to be a police officer. And I've shared that story before, how it informed me when I came to Princeton and became a police officer and started having conversations with people who couldn't understand that dream. And I couldn't understand how it wouldn't be a dream for everyone. And that started a very valuable conversation and informed the rest of my career, really. And something that I always kept in my mind, how I needed to be or try to be an example for those that didn't always look to the police as I did. But you know, that calling just became stronger for me as I got older and went through life. And to be able to end it in this way with all of you, just it surpasses all of my dreams and aspirations completely. You know, my love for the career is as strong today as it was all those years ago. But for all the things that I've been able to experience and do in my career, the most cherished memories will be of the people. The people I've met along the way have influenced me in so many ways. My colleagues, my mentors, all the members of the community, the members of the governing body who supported the department and I for all these years. You made each day better. And any accomplishments that I was able to achieve are only because of all of you. And leaving Princeton is like leaving home for me. I met my wife here. My children were born here. I spent, you know, the whole majority of my adult life, my entire adult life practically was spent here. My colleagues are family to me. And despite how hard it is for me to leave all of you and all of my colleagues, I have comfort knowing that they are so ready to push ahead and achieve such greater things than they already have. Our police department, our municipal organization, honestly has the greatest collection of talented people anyone could ask to be a part of. I've been so honored to be a part of this team and so impressed by all of the talents and work that all of my colleagues have done over all these years. I know that they're all committed to our mission, and that's the service of our community. And the only thing that really eclipses their individual talents are what they're able to do as a group and as a team. It's been my absolute honor to serve with all of you, and I've learned so much from all of you along the way. And certainly not seeing you every day is going to create a void that's just not going to be easily filled. And then finally, I just wanted to speak directly to the mayor and to the members of council, present members and past members, and Administrator DeShield and former Administrator Brusheye. And just thank you personally. 7 years ago, you put your faith in me to lead a newly formed department. And I never for 1 minute took your faith for granted. And I did try every day to live up to your expectations and to make the department live up to your expectations. And I can only hope that we were successful in doing that. I think we were able to affect positive change, specifically within the context of 21st century policing. And that served as a foundation that the department is going to continue to build on. It's in our culture. It's amazing to look back at all that the department and all of us were able to accomplish. But the best part of these innovative and progressive accomplishments is that we did it together as a community. Everything we did together. And I think we really exemplified the importance of these partnerships between the police and the community. And I'm eternally grateful to each and every one of you. And there just won't be a day that I don't think of the Princeton Police Department or Princeton or all of you. I just don't see how that would ever be possible. You'll be on my mind each and every day. And I will always be here to support you in Princeton in any way that I can. I thank you for all the great years and all the great memories that I'll hold on to close to my heart forever. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much, Chief.
I'm gonna give a standing virtual ovation.
Thank you.
The only thing that's making this tolerable is that it's not really goodbye yet.
Right. It's.
I'll see you tomorrow morning.
Thank you so much.
We're really gonna miss you.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. It's hard to move on from this. I do want to welcome, I think he's here at the meeting, Adam Welch.
Hello?
Oh, hi, Adam. I don't know if we can see your video or not.
No, I don't think you could
Hold on,
see.
Mayor. I'm gonna bring him in as a panelist. Just hold on 1 second.
Okay. So just while we're working on the tech here, I do want to introduce council and also the community to the new executive director of the Arts Council of Princeton. Oh, there you are. Hi, Adam.
Hello, everyone.
And you're definitely starting this job in strange times where normally we would have had you in person at the council meeting. But we have to make do with the virtual. But I wanted at least people to put the name to the face, and wanted to just give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to council and to members of the community who are listening in tonight.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor, for the introduction, and also council for having me on tonight. And I guess I should say thank you, Chief Sutter, for your service to the community. And you know, the words that I heard: service to the community, empathy. You know, it's really really inspiring. And now that you're going to have a little bit of free time, you can come on down and take some classes with us down at the Arts Council and expand your repertoire. Anyway, so as the mayor said, my name is Adam Welch. I just started at the Arts Council of Princeton on September 1st as the executive director. And I gotta say, the last 2 weeks have just been absolutely amazing. I feel so lucky and so fortunate, despite, as the mayor said, it's difficult times for everyone, but I feel so lucky and so honored to have this role and this position in this community. I'm not new to Princeton. I've been at the university for 10 years and I live in Hightstown, just the next town over. But anyway, it's really truly an honor to work with the staff that's there. I mean, they just really have been knocking it out of the park with converting to a completely online platform and just really doing amazing things to stay engaged with, you know, at-risk youth and, you know, our senior population, people that really need a connection, a human connection at this point, even virtually. So it's really truly an honor to be here with you all, and I hope to meet everybody in person very, very soon. So thank you so much for taking the time to let me say hello tonight, and I won't monopolize any more time. So thank you, and I hope to see everybody soon.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, now we come to the approval of the minutes, and we have several sets of minutes in front of us tonight. Are there, oh, I'm sorry, wait, before we move on to that, I wanted to do council announcements. So we'll start with Council President Cohen. Do you have any announcements this evening?
I just want to remind folks that the Senior Resource Center's annual fundraiser is happening on Saturday. It's October 17th. Encourage everybody to sign up for that. It's a virtual evening with Al Franken.
Wow.
Great, thank you. And Councilwoman Fraga, any reports or announcements?
I do, and I will do my best to make them brief. So on Wednesday, September 23rd, starting at 5:30 p.m., the Human Services Commission will be hosting a Know Your Rights session, which is going to be focused on tenants' rights, which I think is very timely. It will be presented by the Central Jersey Legal Services attorneys. Also, as part of the Civil Rights Commission's continued conversations with the Princeton community about racism and equity in Princeton, on Sunday, September 27th, starting at 6 p.m., the CRC will be hosting a conversation with the Witherspoon Presbyterian Church and Reverend Lucata, and will be focused on Princeton's dark legacy regarding slavery and racial justice, and on how to move to connect and empower segregated communities. Also, lastly, I wanted to announce that at the CRC's monthly meeting of September 22nd, Princeton University architectural student Carrie Bly, who was one of CRC's PACE Center's Rice Fellows, is going to give a brief presentation about phase 1 of Princeton's affordable housing map, which is what he focused on, along with two other of his colleagues from the university. And the CRC is inviting members of the public, particularly those who have experience with affordable housing in Princeton, to attend. And those meetings will be, the links will be available on the municipal calendar. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Councilman Williamson?
None, Mayor.
Thanks. Councilwoman Niedergang?
Yes, Mayor, one quick announcement, actually a call to action. This Thursday, the Assembly Appropriations Committee is scheduled to vote on a single-use plastics bill that was passed by the State Senate last year and has been kind of sitting and nothing has been happening. And it's very exciting that it's appearing before this committee. So on behalf of the Environmental Commission and environmentalists in general, I ask that you contact the members of the Assembly Appropriations Committee and urge them to pass this bill onto the full Assembly for a vote. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And we had been talking about this earlier today. Council has already gone on record with a resolution in support of this.
Yes, sorry, I didn't get a chance to send you the number of the resolution, but yes, that's accurate.
Okay, great. Councilwoman Pearl-Lambros.
No announcements. Thank you.
And Councilwoman Sachs.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. I had a couple announcements, and I know our health officers here tonight, but I was going to mention briefly that over the past week, there have been 4 new cases of COVID, and I think what's remarkable about those 4 cases is that they're all in individuals who are under 25 years old, and it's really important that that people understand that just because you're young does not make you immune to this disease. And we're seeing nationally a trend where younger people are getting infected, and now we're seeing that here in Princeton. So it's important for all of us to be vigilant. Sometimes I think there can be mixed messages as things start to open up. I think people can let their guard down, but it's actually, we need to do the reverse. As things open up, we actually need to be more careful so that we can do those things safely. The other thing I wanted to mention was that we have, the health department has a great series of flu shot clinics coming up, so people can look on the website to get your flu shot. Super important to get it this year, and you can also get it from your doctor or from a local pharmacy. There's lots of places to get it. The main thing is to do it. And one thing I've learned this year is that Halloween is like a target deadline. So you're supposed to be seen before Halloween, or say boo to the flu. There's so many rhyming slogans for this, but the main thing is go out and get a flu shot. And then the last thing I wanted to mention, or 2 more things. One is there's a meeting tomorrow night on Witherspoon Street on the design planning meeting. Community is welcome to come to that. We're going to be hearing a little bit about the survey later at tonight's meeting. And finally, this has been a very difficult time for pretty much every single person dealing with the impacts of the pandemic on a emotional and mental level, and that there are mental health supports available from multiple agencies. Those can be found on the princetoncovid.org site. And it's really important if you're having trouble, if somebody in your family is having trouble, if one of your children is having trouble, to reach out and get help. So those resources are available, and many of them are free. So encourage people to make use of those if they need them. And with that, I wanted to see if there are any staff announcements. Yep, okay. Then we'll move on to approval of the minutes. And once again, we have several sets of minutes tonight. Are there any minutes that anybody would like to make changes to? Or is there a motion to approve in block? Moved by Ms. Fraga. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Niedergang. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the minutes all passed unanimously, and I want to thank the clerk's office for keeping us so up to date on the minutes. Feels like we've been having a lot of meetings, and it's just great that we're able to get them and improve them and get them up on the website. So thank you, clerk's office. And next we come to the proclamation for tonight, which is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And it's in the packet. Just direct everybody's attention to that proclamation. And now we come to the section of the meeting for public comment. And there are a couple ways to make public comment. The easiest way is to raise your hand, and I see one person, Dan Guerrero. If you can unmute yourself and make your comment. Dan, I think you're allowed to talk. You just have to unmute yourself. Okay.
Can you hear?
Yeah, you sound very remote though.
Can you hear me better?
He's still muted, maybe.
You're muted? Yeah, it's I hear you, but it looks like the symbol says that you're muted.
I don't hear him.
Are you able to unmute yourself? If you click on, there should be something at the bottom of your screen for unmute.
Or perhaps Mark can unmute him from his end.
I've attempted to. I'm not sure what's happening.
Okay. And I just want to confirm that we did not get any emails for public comment in advance of the meeting.
No, we did not.
Okay. Okay, can we try one more time?
Mark, maybe if you bring him in as a panelist, could you try that?
He's unmuted.
Oh, there we go. Yep. Now
Nope.
I think we can. There you go. Oh. There we go. Go ahead. Dan, it looks like you're unmuted and should be able to speak.
Mayor, if we still can't hear him, is it possible for him to submit his comments in writing?
Yeah.
Oh, I heard something.
I want to state them publicly because I have a right to do that. If you have a right,
We could barely hear you, Dan. I know you have a right, but you gotta say it louder.
You got to get closer to the microphone on your machine and speak loudly, please.
I want to make a public comment and I wanted to find out how much time. I'm going to do it in a couple of weeks. The public is allowed it to speak. That's all.
We agree,
Right.
Dan, that you're allowed
You
to
have
speak.
3 minutes. Go ahead.
I'll be louder.
3 minutes? Okay. All right. Yeah. Because I'm going to make it in a couple of weeks, and I don't feel that I should have to send in an email. or
That's
anything like
fine.
that. All right. So when you have the next meeting, can you hear me a little better?
A little bit, but there's something, I mean, I would check your settings because you sound very, very quiet. Our next meeting is going to be on September 30th, which is a Wednesday evening.
Okay, I will contact you then. Thank you, Miss Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All right, and it doesn't look like there's anybody else who, like would like to speak as part of public comment on something that's not already on the agenda. So I'm going to close public comment and we'll move on to reports. And the first report tonight is on the Witherspoon Street survey results. And I wanted to turn it over to municipal engineer Deanna Stockton, whose department helped conduct this survey.
Hi, good evening. So back in July, the engineering department put together a survey. The main goal of the survey was to get feedback on the outdoor dining changes that had been made on Witherspoon Street. There were approximately 12 or 13 questions. Like I said, mainly focusing on how people got to Princeton, why they came to Princeton, what businesses or how many businesses they visited while in town. And then we also included a few questions about mask policy as well. And so you'll see the results of all of these questions are included in the agenda packet on pages 161 to 173. What we found in the 140 responses were approximately 50% of the respondents drove to Princeton to visit, but only about a third of the people were from out of town that were responding to the survey. 80% of the people liked the change that had been made on Witherspoon Street, the one-way traffic movement to accommodate outdoor dining. Some people are looking forward to having Witherspoon Street closed completely in the future. That was some of the comments that we received. And in regards to the mask wearing, the self-reporting was that 2/3 of the people wore masks while they were in town at all times. But there was also a strong desire for mask enforcement. So really that was about it. We're hoping to delve into a lot more of the Witherspoon design topics tomorrow at our public meeting at 7 o'clock. It's a Zoom meeting. The information to connect to the meeting is available on the website. And we'll be talking about the initial feedback that we received in February when we started the community planning process on Witherspoon Street. Then we'll go into some of the options of how to incorporate those comments into a new design and show some different alternatives. And one alternative would be to keep the road as it was before we made the outdoor dining changes. Another option is to keep it as it is with the one-way traffic movement and an improved sidewalk area. And 4 other options. All of those options are also visible on the webpage for the Witherspoon Street project. So if people want to get an advanced look at what those alternatives are, it's on the infrastructure projects page for Witherspoon Street. And there's also a survey at the end of that presentation where people can weigh in on which alternatives they like the most. They can prioritize the different alternatives. So that's really the feedback we've received at this point. Are there any questions?
Yeah.
Michelle?
Yep, Michelle and then David.
Thank you. This is a great survey and it's great information. Can you just give us a little more background though of how many people were surveyed and how the survey data was collected, just so we have a
Thank you. I meant to include that in my remarks. So how we distributed the survey to downtown businesses. It was also located on the municipal website and distributed by the Princeton Merchants Association. We had a QR code that I think a lot of the restaurants were able to provide with their, when they provided the invoice to diners at the end of their meal. So they were able to respond that way. Survey was also, I think, included in the mayor's newsletter. The goal really was to get feedback from those people that were visiting the businesses and the downtown area, to understand if we were meeting needs with the changes that were made.
Thank you. And do you have an idea how many responses you had in total? What the total?
Yes, we have 140 responses, I think, as of September 5th, when we put the data together.
Right. Well, the QR code was a great idea. I mean, it's really challenging. I mean, normally we'd have someone standing out, you know, with a tablet to get people as they're walking by. So it was very innovative. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen, and then Ms. Needham.
Yeah, so actually my question was one that Michelle already asked. So, but I did want to just make a comment, which was that I was really surprised and impressed at how many people walked into town. So Ms. Stockton mentioned that it was 50% drove, but it was 35 or 40% who walked. So I say yay to Princeton residents for both supporting our merchants, but also taking care of the planet.
And just to add to that too, the other statistic I was pleasantly surprised by was this relatively small percentage, I thought, of people who were driving in by themselves. So the people who drove, I can't remember if it was half and half, but a large chunk of them were driving with somebody else. So I thought that was all good news. Ms. Niedergang?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Ms. Stockton, engineering, Councilwoman Lambros, and other people who have been involved in really, you know, this is the prototypical, I think, taking lemons and making lemonade. So really, and it's exciting to see how many people want to continue with this. So I'm going to cheat a little bit and talk about something that's coming up later in the agenda. Which is the desire possibly to keep Witherspoon as a one-way street, and just to ask you, is that something you think ultimately, if we wanted to do, that DOT would go along with it, or would this be a struggle? Because I saw the letter that was in there about that. It sounds like there's some pushback. So
yeah, I don't think it will be a struggle. DOT has worked really well with us through this process, trying to support the merchants in Princeton through the reopening process. But we will have to do a thorough study with the traffic engineers and prove that there are not unintended consequences. I mean, I think that's in all of our best interests to look at it. While this has been a short-term trial and it appears that it's working, we have to look at what the new normal will be and what potential impacts could result from it, right? Because we are displacing traffic. And as more and more things reopen and people start moving around, there's the potential that we're then creating issues at other intersections or within our own roadway system. And so we have to look at that and weigh the benefits versus the challenges associated with that, and work together to come up with a coordinated plan that DOT can then support.
I mean, not to mention, I would say, if I may jump in, is that it may be a little premature because we're functioning in the COVID environment right now. And if we, do get a vaccine and we start moving, to dining in, we may look at things differently. We don't need to block off sides of the street we're dining.
Right.
Yeah. I think there were people who wanted to do this prior to COVID, and I think it's been a real asset to the downtown. But I think, doing a thorough study is obviously a great idea. And I look forward to that when and if we get to that point. So thanks for the heads up about that.
Councilman Fraga?
Yes, so I know that it was one of the questions in the survey, but I don't know about my other colleagues, but I have heard from individuals who would actually propose complete, not just the one way, but completely close the street. And I know right now current situation does serve as a pilot, but I wonder what the challenges would be, and especially with DOT, if we were to consider closing it completely. And from what I'm hearing from individuals who are in favor of that and are asking that we consider, is that there are other college communities that have similar pedestrian plazas. Yeah, my question is, right now we know how challenging it is to work with DOT because it's of Nassau Street is a state. But I wonder if it was to be, if we were to consider closing it completely, how much of a challenge that would be.
That's a teaser for tomorrow night's meeting. I do have part of my presentation, we'll discuss that. But just off the top of my head, we'll be looking at anything that changes traffic movements on Witherspoon Street from away from a two-way will be impacting the New Jersey Transit bus route. That's been temporarily rerouted. And so that would have to be permanently rerouted. So that would be one impact. And again, if people aren't able to access into downtown off of Nassau Street at Witherspoon Street, they're going to start using other access points, you know, the Van Devender, Palmer Square, Chambers. And so that's what we would have to look at is what impacts do we have there, as well as like the Paul Robeson, Hamilton Wiggins corridor. So that's why, if that was one of the preferred alternatives, we would definitely study that quite thoroughly to understand the potential impacts with that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then can you just give us a teaser on how you plan to organize tomorrow night's meeting? I know the last one we had in person. It felt like a long time ago. And people are able to walk around the room, and even like some people were sketching their ideas and writing on big pieces of butcher paper. That obviously is going to be a challenge to do on Zoom. So is it going to be a more formalized structure? What should people expect, and how can they contribute tomorrow?
So we will be using the same webinar format that you use here for the council meetings. And the intention is that we will be able to allow public comment by voice, the way that you are doing that as well. We'll also have people can email into the engineering@princetonnj.gov email address if they have comments as well. So that's how we're planning to use technology on this meeting.
Okay, great, thank you. And Councilwoman Perlambris?
Sorry, I think a lot of this will wait till tomorrow night. You know, there are going to be various vying business interests and, you know, various really differing viewpoints from the business community. And so we'll hear from that tomorrow night. I just wanted to put it in context. Can you just tell us, please, Deanna, the context of the grant that we have and the timeline of what we're trying to accomplish and why we're doing it right now? Because there was some question about that.
Yeah, so the timeline we're working with is set by a municipal aid grant that we have from DOT. It has a deadline of contract award by March 25th, 2021. That is on tonight's agenda to request a 6-month extension because of COVID. That's delayed our public planning process. But the intention is still to move through a planning process for the portion of Witherspoon Street from Nassau to Green Street in the next couple of months. So we'll have the public meeting tomorrow night. We plan to have a follow-up meeting in October. We want to go to the Historic Preservation Committee at their November meeting. And that's really when T&M Associates will jump into the design work to get the construction plans ready. And the idea is to have those ready so we can go out to bid in April and then do construction next summer in 2021. We also have, I've applied for a second grant. We've not heard word on it yet, but that would continue the project from Green to Franklin. And then the idea would be to seek another municipal aid grant for the remaining portion from Franklin to Valley. And so each of those next phases, we would also continue the public planning process before we do the design work. That was my intention, was to plan the corridor completely before we jumped into this first section of design, but with COVID, that really threw off the planning process. And so we've had to bifurcate and just plan really for the more business district. And then we'll do, say, the Paul Robeson or the Green Street to Valley Road section after that in one piece.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying.
Are there any other questions for Ms. Stockton about the survey? Okay, thank you. Well, I think we're all looking forward to the meeting tomorrow night.
Yeah, please join us. We've got Michael Laplace, our planner, will be there. He's been a key partner in this project, and looking to also have our arborist along at the meeting if there's any questions related to trees and the urban canopy. So please feel free to join us and send comments in. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Oh, I guess the one final question I don't think we got to, if you just talk about the process after the meeting and how,
Yes.
just so people understand, like, you know, at what point does this decision get made, and when does that come back to council, and how is that going to transpire?
So after tomorrow night's meeting, we'll really be trying to identify what the preferred alternatives are going forward. And then we'll work with our traffic engineers to identify the type of study that's necessary. Council will see a professional service agreement coming out of that, because that isn't currently part of their scope of work. So you'll see a professional service agreement to do the traffic study. And then when that work is completed, we will we'll have a work session at council as well. But again, we are trying to fast track this because we have to meet the deadlines of the state, as well as getting through the historic preservation process. So we will be looking for a decision fairly early. And I do have to say, historic preservation too will be weighing in on the road geometry as well. That's because it is a change from existing conditions.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Okay, so our next report is the 2019 audit, and I'd like to invite Bob Morrison, who's here with us tonight. People might have been wondering who this gentleman is, and he's no stranger to council. We see him every year when he presents our audit, and I also want to congratulate our CFO, Sandy Webb, on a really great audit report once again. So there's a lot of work that goes into ending up with not too many comments at the end. So we really appreciate the excellent work that you do for the town. So thank you. And with
Thank
that, I
you.
wanted to turn it over to Mr. Morrison, if you want to walk us through the highlights of your report.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Good evening, council members. Suffice it to say, this was the most unusual audit cycle that I've ever been through. My team is used to working together, but they're usually together while they're working together. Because of the shutdown, they had to learn how to collaborate from a distance. And we had to learn how to communicate, collaborate, and get the documentation we needed from the municipal officials while at a distance. It took a lot of good intentions and the hard work to get the audit completed, because the pandemic did not serve to reduce auditing standards. We had to comply with the same rules, regulations, same testing that we would have had to do had we been present on site for the entire audit period. So there was a lot more electronic transmission of documentation throughout the process, but we were able to ultimately accumulate the documentation we needed, perform the tests of internal controls and compliance that we needed to be able to issue our reports. If you look at the report this year, you'll note that it looks a little different than in previous years. And that's the state of New Jersey, the Division of Government Services, which is the oversight regulatory agency for municipal finance. They asked that Princeton convert its financial reporting back to the standard New Jersey audit report. Princeton had been using a hybrid kind of comprehensive annual report, which carved away a lot of the individual schedules and financial reporting and consolidated some of it into an entity-wide set of balance sheets and operating statements that included your general operations and your utilities merged in addition to separate. Now everything is on a fund-by-fund basis once again with more detailed reporting. So if you note the report looks a little different, it's because the state asked that Princeton go back to that format. As far as the results of the audit, if you look at the financial statements, you will notice that the numbers that appear in the audited financial statements are a virtual mirror image of what the finance department presented to us and to you in the form of the unaudited financial statement back in February. That's a compliment to the quality of the record keeping of your financial office staff. They did a really nice job. They had documentation to support their numbers, and we had maybe one or two very small changes to the entire package. So we were very pleased with the quality of the records that we received as part of the audit. Our audit report basically consists of 3 different reports that we issue and sign. The first one is the opinion on the financial statements themselves. That opinion in three pages basically is what's known as an unmodified opinion in the trade jargon. It means that the financial statements as presented to us were fairly presented, meaning the numbers were correct, that the appropriate accounting principles were used to develop those numbers, and that those accounting principles were applied consistently with the prior period. So it's as clean, as good an opinion letter as I can issue. And the records in the audit process indicated it was deserving. In that opinion, we added a what's known as an emphasis of matter paragraph regarding the pandemic. Essentially, what we're saying is that even though there's a pandemic, it did not impact your 2019 audit, so we're not going to modify our opinion on the audit. And based on our testing for subsequent events since the pandemic hit, we do not see at the point in time we issued the report, and quite honestly, as of now, any significant material deterioration in Princeton's financial position for the rest of this year. from our opinion and based on conversations we've had around the state, the biggest exposure short-term is the possibility that the state may have to cut back on some of the state aid that they're giving out. So the more you rely on state aid, the more impact that'll have. Princeton, obviously, not that big of an impact. The second report we issue is based on our testing of internal controls and compliance with laws and regulations. Right? This is something that New Jersey requires every municipal audit to have. Most states don't. It makes us follow a set of additional standards known as government auditing standards, which are issued at the federal government level by the Comptroller General. So we perform a variety of tests to determine whether your internal controls are adequate, whether they were designed properly, they've been placed into service, and they're operating effectively. Our report basically indicates that the controls are appropriate, they're working, and they're accomplishing their objectives, which is for you to comply with laws and regulations. Our tests of those compliance with laws and regulations, which covers, everything from, are you filing your withholding taxes on time with the Treasury, to are you complying with the local public contracts law? Are you complying with the budget law? Are you complying with the local bond law? And we essentially found no non-compliances throughout our tests. And I mention this every once in a while. I tell my staff, there's a free lunch for them if they can find something that will get a comment in the report, and we still don't have one. So another compliment to the fastidious record keeping in the finance department. The third report in this year's audit, which hasn't been there the last couple of years, is based on the fact that last year you spent over $750,000 of state aid, first time in about 3 or 4 years. And as a result, we had to perform additional testing known as a state single audit on what is considered major state grant programs. So we do a deeper dive into, in this case, it was transportation grants, to make sure that Princeton is in full compliance with the terms of those agreements, and that the costs that you charged against those agreements were allowable. And again, it's a clean report. We did not find any unallowable costs, and we did not find any non-compliance. So essentially you went 3 for 3 on the reports, and with minimal changes to the financial statements as presented to us, I would call it a very, very good audit this year. And we would always thank the staff, because I think we were probably more of a nuisance this year than we've been, and they put up with us and took care of us.
Great, thank you very much for that report. Ms. Niedergate?
Thanks. I remember last year when the auditors were there and there was like, don't distract us. Everybody, everybody's focusing on this. So I'm sure it's an incredibly, as for all of us, a very different experience. But I wanted to ask 2 questions. One, I think you already kind of answered. I was thinking about next year's 2019, where the report we're looking at today for 2018, 2019 were years that COVID were not during the pandemic. So record keeping and everything went on as it had normally, and your struggle, your effort was to get the information that had been obtained under quote unquote normal conditions. So my first question is, do you anticipate any difficulties, since most of this year will be under these COVID conditions? And are there steps that you're suggesting? I'm sure you would have talked about them with Sandy or other people that we can take to ensure that we have such a pleasant conversation with you next year.
Well, the good news is that most of your internal controls are systems based, so that even though you have people working remotely, they're working through your systems, and the systems are intact. We do interim work before we issue our report to make sure that things aren't collapsing all around us as we're getting ready to issue. And everything was in order. So we don't anticipate any problem with the database, let's say, for 2020. For us, the big issue is going to be revenue streams. And so far, and this is pretty much across the local government environment in New Jersey, it looks like, with the possible exception of state aid, revenues are holding. Now, that may not show the underlying pain, because a lot of the people who've been affected by this thing have homes that have mortgages, and the mortgage companies are paying the property taxes and in some instances paying the utility charges because they have a lien on the property that they would not want to lose. It'll be interesting if this thing goes on for more than another year or so, to see if at some point the mortgage companies decide that they're going to stop paying. Because if delinquent mortgages turn into delinquent taxpayers payments to the municipalities, then we could see a significant decline in revenues. But as of now, that's not happening.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
didn't want to turn off the mic when I was coughing. So then I just wanted to ask one other small question with the one, what you called a control deficiency that you noted. It was kind of the one suggestion that I saw in there, that in the way that the number of people that sometimes duties were located in one person that maybe should be distributed among others. Is that something that I sort of vaguely recall that you may have made the same recommendation last year, though I'm not 100% sure.
Yes.
So I'm just, is that kind of like a recommendation? It's like, that would be ideal, or is this something we really need to do?
No, let me explain why that's in there. But when we examine the internal control environment, we are looking for anything that could be considered a deficiency. And in some offices, there are certain people that perform all of the functions related to a transaction. For example, the outside offices. One person will collect the money, will issue a receipt for the money, will enter the receipt into a cash receipts record, may prepare a deposit slip, and may even deposit the money. In a properly segregated environment, you would have multiple people performing different parts of that task so that, in effect, one person couldn't hijack a transaction. The reason why we mention it is because it's not the optimal situation. The reason why we don't make a recommendation that you change it is because every internal control has to be evaluated based on what the cost to improve it would be versus what the perceived benefit of that improvement would be. So for you to hire additional people in some of your smaller offices to improve controls would be cost ineffective in our minds, because it would actually be cheaper to give away the service than to pay more to have people documenting the transactions. So we mention it just so you're aware of it in case anything changes that you might want to consider making an improvement, but we don't make a recommendation because we don't believe it would be cost effective at this point.
Thank you very much. That was very helpful.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Morrison? No. All right. Thank you very much for that report and all the work that went into it.
Great job to Sandra.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you, Sandy.
Yeah, thank you. And congratulations, Sandy. And so now we have 2288, which is a resolution accepting the 2019 audit and group affidavit. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. Williamson. Any final comments or questions? All in favor?
Just thank you, Sandy.
Thank you, Sandy and staff, and also Mr. DeShiel, for really congratulations and great job.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
all in
Mayor.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And now we have a letter. I just wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to read in correspondence. I don't think that Mr. Newland's on the call tonight, but but he wrote just a really lovely thank you note to our public works staff for helping the housing authority bring some much needed food here to Princeton. And it's just a visible example of the town partnering with some of our really great important organizations. And one of the I guess the things that helps to restore your soul during a period like COVID is to see examples of this sort of partnership happening all throughout our community. So wanted to thank our Public Works Department for being flexible and stepping up and really helping people who really needed it in our community. Want to thank the Housing Authority for thinking through a problem creatively, not giving up and asking for help. And also wanted to thank Leighton for taking the time to write a note like this. It's really meaningful. So lucky to live in a place like Princeton, and we have definitely our share of problems, but I think we are. I'm just really grateful that we're also in a community that has solutions too. So it's great to see when those two things get to meet. Ms. Fraga?
Yes, Mayor, and I didn't know if we were going to do reports, but on that note, I did want to mention something. The Food Insecurity Task Force continues to meet on a bi-weekly basis, and that's being led by Human Services and working in collaboration with the community partners that are providing food and meals during this time that it looks like it's still going to continue. And the reason I wanted to mention it because we still continue to hear stories or situations where there are individuals in our community who had never before had to ask for help, especially for food from the food pantry, who they're coming to our attention that there's individuals in our community that maybe because they never had experienced that, did not know where to go for help. And at our last meeting, we heard of an elderly couple who knocked on a neighbor's door because they were hungry and they were asking for food. But fortunately, we have many community leaders such as Mr. Newland, the Spruills, and many others who have boots on the ground and ears to the ground, and so are very aware when they find out there's an individual or family in our community who's in need, knows to put them in touch and who to put them in touch with. So mainly, I also want to just put the word out there that these meals that are available, the food is available, food distribution, not just for individuals whose families are on the free and reduced lunch program. Anybody that asks for help, no questions asked. If someone's asking for help, it's because they need it. So it is available, and I just want to remind folks of that. And that was it for reports, but also I realized that I forgot to mention something in my announcements, that on Wednesday, the 16th, starting at 7 p.m., the Permit Parking Task Force will be meeting. Those meetings are open to the public, and the link is on the municipal calendar for those who wish to attend.
Great, thank you. And thank you for just pulling us back, because I did forget reports. And I want to go back through the list. Mr. Williamson?
I just wanted to ask Councilwoman Fraga a question, but even before I ask the question, just want to also give a shout out to Ross Wishnick, who's doing a great job in town with SHUP and with Human Services in combating food insecurity. And the question for Councilwoman Fraga is, one of the issues, Ross and I spoke about this a few weeks back, but one of the issues that keeps coming up is folks who are in need self-identifying, because there's a lot of prohibitions on Human Services providing names to community partners who want to help. I'm just wondering if in the meetings, the bi-weekly meetings, if we're getting any, headway in being better at that, and those who are in need self-identifying.
Yes.
Or
So
creating systems to foster that.
yes, so among the community partners, we are sharing that information, including data and the neighborhoods and who is covering what. But yes, it's true that because of privacy issues, the data as far as the names and addresses is not being shared publicly. But so mainly what we're doing is putting the word out that there are some of our community partners, including the mobile food pantry, the Share My Meals, and others that do not require for someone to identify as being on the free and reduced lunch program, because we do have residences where we have residents who don't have children in the school system, so are not already on their list. And that's mainly what we want to let our residents know, is that there's no, for most of this food that's available, that there is no eligibility requirements.
I'm just asking, right?
Yeah, just ask. And I would say contact Human Services, because Human Services will know which program best fits the individual that needs the help.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. So I wanted to go back for reports and start with Council President Cohen. Any reports?
I don't have any reports tonight.
Okay. And Councilman Fraga, did you get a chance to do all of your reports?
That was my report. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. And Councilman Williamson, any reports?
None tonight, Mayor.
Okay. Councilperson Niedergang, any reports?
No, not tonight. Thank you.
Okay. And anybody else have reports? Yeah, Councilwoman Pearl Lambros.
I just briefly want to mention that very importantly, at the Economic Development Committee meeting last week or the week before, we heard from a consultant who has worked with about 50 municipalities throughout New Jersey on economic revitalization plans. And we feel very strongly right now that, coming out of this and going through this and what the new normal will look like, if you go through our commercial districts right now, you're already seeing a lot of vacancies. And so we really need to take his consideration of what the plans could be and how we can work together, municipality in partnership with the business community, and how we can strengthen going forward what we're doing. So it was very interesting, and I just wanted to mention that we had that consultant speak with us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And Councilwoman Sachs, any reports?
No reports tonight, Mayor.
Okay, thanks. And are there any staff reports? Okay.
No, Mayor.
Okay, we can move on then to the ordinance public hearings. So the first ordinance public hearing is 2020-29, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton authorizing vacation of an existing 20-foot wide stream easement on block 1305 lot 3, which is at 171 Autumn Hill Road in Princeton, municipal tax map 2018. And want to start by seeing if there are any questions from council on this ordinance, and wanted to open up the public hearing for this ordinance, see if there's anybody who'd like to speak. And just checking, we did not get any emails on this ahead of time.
No, Mayor, we did not.
Okay. And just for people tuning in, this was an easement that the municipality had on this property that is no longer needed. It's a sort of a cleanup ordinance, as is the next ordinance on the list. Okay, so seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to council and see if there's a motion to approve. Moved by Ms. Niedergang. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Perrin-Lambros. And any final discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Perrin-Lambros,
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs.
Yes.
Ordinance passes unanimously. And next we come to ordinance 2020-30, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton authorizing vacation of an existing 20-foot wide sewer lateral easement on block 5701 lot 1, 106 Leebrook Lane in Princeton on the municipal tax map 2018. And again, I'd like to see if there's any questions from council. And if not, I'm going to open up the public hearing for this ordinance. And seeing no one, I will close the public hearing, bring it back to council, ask if there's a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Mr. Williamson. And if there's no discussion, then Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Perrin-Lambros,
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang,
Yes.
Mr. Cohen,
Yes.
Ms. Fraga,
Yes.
Mr. Williamson,
Yes.
Ms. Sachs.
Yes.
Okay, the ordinance passes unanimously. And next we come to our resolutions for this evening. The first one is 2289, resolution designating Princeton LIHTC Urban Renewal LLC as redeveloper for a portion of block 5502 lot 4, commonly known as 100-101 Thanet Road, and authorizing execution of a redevelopment agreement in connection therewith. And I'd like to ask if there's a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Cohen. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Niedergang. Any questions or comments on this resolution? Ms. Niedergang?
I had said when I looked at an earlier version of this that there was some inconsistency in terms of its non-discrimination language. And we have a whole long list of things. We say race, color, creed, religion, ancestry, national origin, affectional orientation, sex or marital status. And I had asked that gender identity be added as well. And that was added in one place, but not in a couple of other places. So should I specify those now, or I think I sent an email to Mr. DeShields about this. I just want to make sure if it's going to take, if it's a cleanup and it doesn't require our time, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't forgotten.
I would, yeah, and maybe if you want to make a motion for an amendment that would add gender identity in all the areas where the discrimination cause is. And
Yeah,
if you want to make a blanket amendment.
And just for your information, it's also in the Affordable Housing Agreement. So that will affect resolution 290, 290 and 2291. So I'll just bring those up when we get to that. But for this, yes, I'd like to make a resolution. I'd like to make a motion amending the ordinance to include gender identity in all applicable places.
Okay. And is there a second to that? Seconded by Mr. Williamson. And is there any discussion on that? So why don't we vote on that amendment and then we can talk about the amended resolution. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Just want to see if there are any other questions on this resolution or comments. Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes unanimously. Next we come to, the amended resolution passes unanimously. Next
Mayor,
we come to,
I
yes.
just want to double check. I got the motion for the amendment and the vote, but did anyone actually make a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes. It was moved by Mr. Cohen, I think, and seconded by,
me.
who did the initial one? Ms. Niedergang.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we come to 2290, resolution authorizing affordable housing agreement for affordable housing project to be located at 900 Herrontown Road, designated as Lot 21 in Block 901 on the tax map of Princeton. And this is for the what we often call the save site. And I'd like to entertain a motion to approve, but I might recommend that the person making the motion to approve make a motion to approve it with the changes that Ms. Niedergang had mentioned before. So moved by Ms. Fraga, seconded by Ms. Peron-Lambros. Are there any questions or discussions on this resolution? No.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
good catch, Councilwoman Niedergang.
Thank you.
And then I just want to check with, is that Dawn who's talking? I can't see your face. I think that's your voice.
Yes.
Okay, so is that all right if the motion was made with those changes initially? Or do we need to do it like we did with the prior resolution where we vote on an amendment?
No, Mayor, this is Trishka. I think it's fine the way
Okay.
you've done it.
Okay, great. All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the amended resolution passes unanimously. Next, we come to 2291, resolution authorizing an affordable housing agreement and payment in lieu of taxes agreement for affordable housing project to be located within Princeton Community Village off of Bund Drive on a portion of Lot 2 in Block 4401 on the tax map of Princeton. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Fraga. Any questions or comments on this, Ms. Niedergang?
This also, sorry, the affordable housing agreement also needs to have that same change made. So I don't know how you want to handle that.
I guess
I
you can
think
make.
I'm going to make a suggestion. Again,
Yep.
this is Trishka. Let's just treat that as a ministerial change, that wherever
Perfect.
we
Got
have
it.
the affirmative action language
Okay.
in these agreements, we'll add it.
Perfect.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Are there any other questions or discussion on this resolution? I see that Ed Trisselli's on the line, but you don't have to speak if you don't want to. And with that, were you interested in speaking, Ed?
Yes, Mayor, can you hear me?
We can, yeah.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to thank council for considering these agreements and to partner with us on providing more affordable housing opportunities in Princeton. We're hopefully all working together, and we look forward to doing that in the future. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 2292, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Dynex Services Incorporated for firewall upgrade and repair, amount not to exceed $26,582.93. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Sachs. Any questions on this one or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 2293, resolution amending authorization of the purchase of a variable messaging board for the Princeton Health Department in an amount not to exceed $15,000. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Fraga, seconded by Ms. Niedergang. Any questions or comments on this?
I do, Mr. Grosser. I was just wondering if you have already given some thought as to where this messaging board, which is great, I think, as far as being able to put the message out regarding flu clinics and other important announcements. But I was just wondering if you've given thought as to where the board is going to be placed. I assume different locations.
Yeah, a lot of different locations. Right now, what we've noticed is that we have a lot of electronic communication, a lot of press communication, but not a lot of word of mouth in the street. So We're up for suggestions and recommendations, and wherever anybody thinks it should go, please let us know. But in the meantime, we're going to try to get it out for flu clinics to start.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, definitely by the schools, I would hope that there's areas where we could, not that the students are, right now they're learning remotely, but where many, hopefully areas where members of the public are more likely to see them.
Absolutely. And just so everyone knows, this is completely reimbursed by, this is the federal COVID grant money that came through the state that was released to Princeton.
Yeah, thank you.
That's terrific.
One of my favorite words, reimbursement.
Yes, sir.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 20294, resolution requesting an extension of time until October 31st, 2020 from the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the temporary traffic regulation order allowing one-way traffic operation on Witherspoon Street. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Lambros, seconded by Ms. Niedergang. Any comments or questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 20295, a resolution by the municipality of Princeton requesting a 6-month extension of time for construction contract award from the New Jersey Department of Transportation for the fiscal year 2019 municipal aid grant for the improvement of Witherspoon Street. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Sachs. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 20296, resolution authorizing an agreement with Princeton University for the installation of bike boulevard signage on College Road, a roadway under the university's jurisdiction for a period of 1 year with provisions to extend. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Pearl-Lambros. Any comments or questions on this one? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution passes unanimously. Next is 20297, resolution authorizing the award of the contract known as Crane Tree Removals Fall 2020 to Justin's Tree Services in the amount of $27,250. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Niedergang, seconded by Ms. Pearl-Lambros. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Was your hand up, Mr. Cohen? Sorry.
No,
Okay.
sorry.
Resolution passes unanimously. Next, we come to the consent agenda, which contains items of a routine nature passed by single vote. Are there any items on the consent agenda anybody would like removed? Ms. Niedergang?
I just had a question about one item. Should I ask that or remove?
I think we need to remove it and then we
Okay,
can talk about it.
20299, please.
Okay. And are there any other items anybody wants removed? Okay, so is there a, Ms. Fraga?
Oh, that was a motion.
Oh, okay, so a motion to approve the consent agenda, except for item 2. So that's been moved by Ms. Fraga. Is there a second? Seconded by Ms. Sachs. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda, items 1 and then 3 through 11 passed unanimously. And next will come to resolution 20299, authorizing alcoholic beverage licenses for the licensing period September 30th, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. And you, well, first let's get it on the table and then we can have a discussion. So is there a motion to approve? Moved by Ms. Niedergang, seconded by Ms. Fraga, and you can go ahead and ask your question.
My question is just that we're granting a license to La Hier's, which hasn't been there for many years, and that just struck me as very odd. They just not changed the name of the corporation. If it's possible, someone could just explain to me what's going on.
They, usually what that is, they can like maintain the license. It may stay in pocket status, but they can do the renewal to maintain the license.
Without changing the name of the license holder?
Well, it depends on if the same people, I believe, are holding it, or if they're looking to for a buyer or seller, like sometimes it can be held in status for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Ms. Brown Lambros?
Well, yeah, but that's where Agricola is, and that's owned by
Yeah.
Harvard Group now.
Yeah, it's a totally different company and it's been years. So it just struck me as very odd.
It is strange, but perhaps they'll keep on renewing it under the same name as long as the Lahire sign remains up.
Maybe.
My wife and I were noticing it's still there.
Yeah. All right.
It would be great
Just,
if there were an extra license out there, but I think that must be being utilized by Agricola.
yeah. Sorry, just struck me as very odd since the restaurant hasn't existed in years and I know it's a different owner, but thank you for addressing my concern.
Okay.
Sort of.
So, all right. Any other further comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the resolution passes unanimously. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's so moved by Mr. Cohen, seconded by Ms. Niedergang. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night.